Hello, I'm Randy Lenz with Anden, and today we're at our Poinet manufacturing facility. All of the Anden products are made right here in Poinet, Wisconsin. Today we're going to have an overview of our 320 pint units. In the 320 pint line we have two models. We have the A320V1 and the A320V3. The A320V1 is a 208 to 240 volt unit. You can hook it up to any voltages between 208 and 240. It'll work just fine. And then our 320V3 is a 277 volt unit that works with the same circuits as a lot of the lighting in a grow space. So if you have a lot of 277 circuitry available, and a lot of times this is on a new build out where you're putting in new electrical panels, it's nice to get into the same circuits as the lighting. On both of these units, this cord is removable. So if there's applications where the cord needs to be removed for hardwiring options, this cord just plugs into the terminal block. There's also screw down terminals so that we can hardwire the unit if it's in an application where code requires that to happen. So the model A320V1 removes 320 pints at 80 degrees and 60% relative humidity. It draws 11.1 amps, which gives us an energy factor of 6 pints per kilowatt hour or 2.9 liters per kilowatt hour. So that performance, that amp draw and that performance also changes as the temperature and humidity go down. So that's basically our worst case scenario. As the temperature and humidity goes lower, the amp draws less, which gives us more liters per kilowatt hour removal. The unit itself is approximately 32 inches wide and about 24 inches tall and 24 inches long. Weighs about 180 pounds, so it's a good heavy unit. Now talking about the model A320V3, which is our 277 volt version, that is actually, everything's the same cabinet, same components inside of there. It has a different compressor which allows us to run it at 277 volts. That unit has an amp draw of 9.2 and also has energy factor of 2.6 liters per kilowatt hour or 5.5 pints. It's the same weight, same dimensions, all the same accessories. Here is our electrical panel. I'll take the screw to get the electrical panel off of here. These units are designed and built with some really great components. You can see all the components in there. They're very easy to service. That's one of the design features that we have in our Anden units, is that they're very easy to service, easy to get to parts. Not a lot in there. I mean, from a transformer, a couple fuses, circuit board, to a contactor for the compressor, contactor for the fan, and a capacitor. Very simple, very easy to work on, easy to get to components that we can service in the field. Electrical diagram on the back side as well for an electrician or anybody troubleshooting the unit. For a compressor, we've selected a Copeland scroll compressor, which gives us only one basic moving part for reliability. For a fan, we've selected a Zeal ABEG fan. It moves 830 CFM. It's a German engineered fan. Very important, an ECM fan tries to keep the constant airflow going through the unit. So as the filter loads up with particles, as we add some ductwork, the fan will ramp itself up to maintain constant pressures through the unit. So we get good airflow across that coil. We also use Modine for our coil. One of the nice things with Modine has electrofin coating that they put on there for corrosion resistance. Electrofin coating coats that coil and all those fins real evenly and gets down into all the little nooks and crannies, so we get a good even coating for corrosion resistance, and it also helps with performance. Our units also come with the TXV valve. The TXV valve is a device that monitors the amount of refrigerant going in to the unit. A lot of units use what's called a capillary tube, where you have the set amount of refrigerant going into the units at all time. With the TXV, you can add or remove refrigerant from the system based upon the incoming conditions. So as the temperatures and humidity go lower, you don't need as much refrigerant. Temperatures and humidity increase, you need more refrigerant, so we can optimize how much refrigerant's going into the unit to give us the best performance across a wide spectrum of indoor growing conditions. The unit also comes with a MERV 11 replaceable filter. It's 2 inches thick. That filter is all you really need to have to capture everything that's floating around in a grow room to keep the unit clean, to make sure that we don't get anything in the unit that we don't want. Just as a good practice, typically this filter would be changed out every time we harvest a room and clean the room and get going again. We have an onboard control, we call it a user interface, that will give us some diagnostics, and if you have the unit on a cart or at the floor level, you can use that onboard control. Underneath here is our wiring terminals that we can wire up an external control to. These terminals on plug, so it makes it very nice and easy that you can pull them out, do your wiring out here, and plug them back in. We have diagnostic codes on the back of this control and our 800 number to give us a call if anytime you have any questions on the installation or troubleshooting. That's what we're there for. Our tech team is very exceptional at doing these things, and they will get you all dialed in and get things going. We also add into the box as a nice feature our model A77 dehumidistat. So when we're hanging the units way up high at the ceiling level, we don't want to take a humidity reading there. We want to read the humidity down at the canopy level, down at the plants. So we give you that model A77 dehumidistat to connect to the unit so we can get a good accurate reading right at the plants, right where it matters. It also has onboard diagnostics, so if there's anything that goes wrong with the unit, it'll display those diagnostic codes on that control as well. With that A77 control, we also give you 30 feet of thermostat wire to connect it with. And last but not least, we give you an Anden screwdriver to tighten everything down so that you can get the control connected to the user interface. So pretty much everything in the box that is needed to get this unit up and running. This unit is a negative pressure cabinet, so we include with the unit a drain trap that has to be used. With a negative pressure cabinet, air is pulled through the cabinet so it can pull air up the drain hole as well. So you need to trap the drain to make sure that water can easily flow out and go down the drain. Don't have any water backing up in the unit. The drain is underneath of the unit, so we give you all the fittings that are needed. You screw this up into the bottom of the unit. You put that on there with some PVC cement, and then you can connect on with more PVC to go straight down to a drain, or you can attach this piece like so and have it to barb fitting. We include 10 feet of black drain tubing as well, so that can be connected on there for draining away if you don't want to use PVC to continue out. Very important things to note when you put the trap in here, you get it all glued up and ready to go. From this point on, we want a downward pitch. It doesn't have to be a drastic downward pitch, but at no point we want it to go back up. So we want to keep a good downward slope to get the water away. One other key thing to remember is this trap needs to be primed. It needs to have water in it. So the easiest way to get water in there is to pour it down the face of the filter. There's a gap right in here, and stick my fingers in it. You can just pour water from whatever water source down the front and let the water go through here, prime the trap, and go down the drain, and the unit will be ready to go. We also have 4 very heavy duty hanging brackets that go on the unit. They also double as lifting brackets. This unit at 180 pounds is quite heavy, so when it's sitting here, hard to get your fingers underneath of it to move it around to install it. But we designed it so that these brackets, when sitting on the floor, can go in there, just like so. We include the screws, we put a screw on each side, and now you've got heavy lifting handles as well as hanging brackets. The center of this bracket, this hole, is designed so that you can use 1/4 inch threaded rod, 3/8 inch threaded rod, or go all the way up to 1/2 inch threaded rod. And you would put the threaded rod through with a nut, fender washer, larger washer on top, and a nut when you get it in there leveled and secured. We also have a foot kit, a leveling foot kit. These units are almost always hung, 99% of the time are hung, so we don't put the foot kit in the box, but we do have one available. You need one, give us a call, we'll send one out to you. In that kit, you're going to get 4 feet with a 1/2 inch threaded rod through them, and you get 8 nuts, 4 regular ones and 4 cage nuts. So what you have here is your hanging bracket. That cage nut actually snaps in there, just a little nut in the cage. And then you're going to screw the threaded rod up through that and get it to where you need it to be, and then put a nut on the top, which really locks it down and stabilizes it so it doesn't have any give. It doesn't move when the unit is running. So you put it on there, lock it all down with a wrench, and you get a good stable foot on each side of the unit. To go through the optional accessories that we have with the Anden A320 dehumidifiers, we have the model 5807 duct kit. It's just a transition for the inlet side and a transition for the outlet side. The nice thing with this one is it does have a door on it, so we can remove this door to access the filter. We've got to clean the filter. So we have an access door. This bolts onto the front of this as such. And you can see we've tapered. We have a taper in here. So when you're trying to stick the filter in, it hits that tapered edge and gets pushed behind it, holds that filter in place on this side. And then you can still use the 2 tabs on this side to hold the filter in place. So this is a 5807 duct kit, optional duct kit that is available for the units. Included with the Anden A320 units, we have this installation and quick start guide. We have installation instructions in the unit, manuals with complete instructions, but put this together just to highlight things of importance when we're installing the unit. And one of the things that's very important is looking at the location of the unit. We want to make sure that we're bringing the most humid air into the dehumidifier to squeeze as much moisture out of that dehumidifier as possible. So when we line units up and we have multiple units in a room, we don't want to have air discharging out of one unit into the inlet of another one. Ideally, we would have the unit against the wall with about 18 inches of, we show on here about 18 inches of space behind it, so that we're blowing air directly out into the space, blowing that dry air out towards the canopy. We say 18 inches gap between the wall and the unit. That's not a magic number. You could be closer than that, but you do need to get access to the filter and to the user interface. So if you get too close, you may not be able to access those things. So keep that in mind when you're hanging that unit. The other thing to keep in mind is it doesn't do us any favors if we have the discharge, the supply of your air conditioner in the room blowing into the inlet of the dehumidifier. Again, that is dry air coming out of your air conditioner. Doesn't do us any good. Try and keep our inlets and outlets away from each other as much as possible. So on here we also show you the wiring diagram of the user interface to the A77 dehumidistat that we include on here, and we have all the setup instructions step by step of what you have to do to tell the user interface on the unit that it has an external control attached to it. It doesn't know that the control is on there just because you wire it to it. You have to go into the installer setup menu, very simply go through a couple quick steps to let it know that there's a control attached to it. But this makes it very simple to install the unit, and like I said, give us a call whenever you have questions about installing a unit, troubleshooting a unit, placement, anything that you can think of. That's what we're there for. We're there to help you.